Okay, so we start the Kathopanishad. I'm going to number them as, the section, subsection, and the verse. So we start with verse or mantra or shlok or text 1.1.1. I will read. Om. उशन है वे वाशिश्रवसः सर्ववेदसं ददौ तस्य ह नचिकेता नाम पुत्र आस. So Om, oh God, remembering God, we start the Upanishad. It is well known that Vajshravasah, desiring rewards, performed a sacrifice or a yajna in which he gave away all his wealth, all his belongings, all his properties. He had a son named Nachiketa. So let's take this up word by word. Om is that Param Brahman. Ushan hai Vai. So desirous of fruits of sacrifice, Vajishravasah means the son of Vajshravas. So a person, as you saw in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was referred as Kaunteya, Dhananjaya. So in our tradition, based on the abilities or the heritage, many ways, a person can be addressed in many ways. So Vajshravasa is here the person who's conducting the sacrifice was the son of Vajshravasa, right? And so Sarv Vedasam. Vedasam is whatever you possess. We also use it for knowledge, but here it actually means all the possessions. Sarv is all. So Sarv Vedasam becomes all his possessions. Dadao is gave away. Tasya ha, to him. Nachiketa, as the name Nachiketa, Nam is named, Putra, son, As, had. So उष्ण है ह वै वाजश्रवसः सर्ववेदसं ददौ तस्य ह नचिकेता नाम पुत्र आस. Now, this is a simple sentence, actually, if you look at it. But there are some interesting undercurrents that we need to understand. Now, what is happening? That son of Vajishravasa, wanting to reach heaven or seeking celestial joys or Swarg, was performing a sacrifice called Vishwajit or Sarv Medas. Now, in this sacrifice, the goal of which is attainment of heaven after death, the person who is aspiring for these celestial joys has to offer everything that the person has in charity or gifts or donations. Because now the logic behind this is that once all our possessions are offered in gift or charity, the person who's performing the sacrifice has nothing to call one's own. It's all given away, right? So essentially, what we are saying is that the person conducting the sacrifice is stripped of all his possessions and belongings, his or her. Now, in the ancient times, typically kings, you can sacrifice if you have something to give. A beggar cannot say that, okay, here I sacrifice my begging bowl to you, right? So typically kings perform this sacrifice. And this was done not only to assist the needy, it was also to remove the king's attachment, or the person who's conducting the sacrifice, king's attachment to the worldly possessions, right? Now, this is a significant step towards salvation, which we all have as our ultimate goal, or freedom from the sorrows of life and death. In the current text, in this Upanishad, Vajshravasa is not really a king, not being portrayed as a king, as we will see as we proceed, but as a wealthy Brahmin. and he was doing this sacrifice. Now, just the conduct of this sacrifice is a very difficult situation to imagine. I mean, just think, if we were to do it, what are we saying? That I have no home, I have no wealth, there is nothing that I have. And actually, in those days, at times, the clothes that the person was wearing was the only thing that the person was left with, right? So, actually, it's a non trivial thing that we are talking about. And this was that sacrifice that Vajshravasa was conducting. Vajshravasa had a son called Nachiketa, and this is the first verse, the first passage, or the first slok of Kathopanishad. With that, let's move on to the next one. 1.1.2, I will read. Tamha Kumaram Santam Dakshinasu Niyamanasu Shraddha Vivesh So Manyatah. So this translates to, it is also well known that as the gifts and donations were being distributed, a sense of righteousness enters the boy Nachiketa. He thought, right? So this is where the verse or the text ends. So now let's read it, take it up word by word. Taham, into him. Kumaram is a kumar, a lad, a boy, probably a teenager. Santam, being, existing. Dakshanasu, the donations. Niyamanasu, being distributed. Shraddha is faith. Avivesh, enters. Saha, he. Amanyat, thought. So, tamha kumaram santam dakshinasu niyamanasu shraddha vivesha so amanyatah. So this is probably the only description that we have of Nachiketa in the Upanishad. He was a Kumar, a boy, a lad, a teenager. And as the gifts are being given away, what the text is saying, that Shraddha or righteousness, a sense of righteousness enters into the boy, Nachiketa. The use of word Shraddha is very, very important here. And we need to revisit what we had picked up in the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita, Shraddha Traya Vibhag Yog, where we classified or categorized Shraddha into Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, the three gunas, right? So we had a whole chapter which was dedicated to Shraddha or faith. And you can go through the recordings of that time or go through your notes where we had discussed Shraddha in detail there. Here I'm just covering it briefly. How Shraddha is actually beyond faith. It starts with faith, but goes much beyond it. And in fact, the English language does not really have a word which is equivalent to it. Essentially, it is a belief in a possibility that we cannot logically explain today. So, even see in the material world, here we are, of course, talking about spirituality, but even in the material world, all pioneering discoveries are based on Shraddha, that faith that such a thing can happen, or that Shraddha that this can happen. Your steam engines, you talk of any invention, the invention of the light bulb, the invention of your computers, the mobile phones, uh, everything is a result of this Shraddha. So, Shraddha is more than faith. It is the ability to self educate and pursue a thing till we attain it. So, see, someone who's trying to discover or who discovered the mobile phone, when the person was working on the or on that idea that the person had, that it is possible to communicate without a physical wire or a communicating line. The person is, so there is no example in the world at that point of time. You have to feed in your education to yourself, or you have to self educate to move further on your path. And second important part, so first important part is self educate. Shraddha is, implies self education. Second is that one pursues a thing till one attains it. Shraddha is therefore our inner vitality and values that propel us with and enable us to perform in our chosen fields. Now, especially it is very, very significant in case of the spiritual field, because here with our finite self, our body, our mind and intellect, we are trying to comprehend or reach the infinite. And there is no preset for it for us. We can read the scriptures, we can hear commentaries, but we have no person, I mean, someone who's experienced it cannot explain it to us. So even when Gautam Buddha realized, he just sat, he just sat under the Bodhi tree and that was it, because you cannot explain it. So we have to reach it by ourselves. The gurus give us the pointers on how to go and where to go. But Shraddha, it is our main carrier, our transport, our propeller. And without Shraddha, we cannot penetrate the unknown. So essentially, Shraddha or our faith determines the texture of our vasanas or impressions, our ability to receive and perceive situations, thoughts, and ideas and process them, and it determines our consistency of purpose. With that, let me move on to uh, verse 1.1.3, the third and the last verse for the day. I will read. Pitodaka jag trina dugd doha nirindriya ananda namte loka tan sa gachati ta dadat. So the verse translates to, this verse is when the cows were being given away in charity. So the verse translates to, these cows, it's implied, have drunk water for the last time, eaten grass for the last time, have yielded all their milk, and are devoid of vigor. Joyless truly are those worlds. Them one attains. Who gives these? So you remember we ended the previous verse by saying he thought, so manyata. So Nachiketa is thinking, and this is what he is thinking, that these cows who have drunk water for the last time, eaten grass for the last time, have yielded milk and all their milk and are devoid of vigor. Joyless verily are those worlds. Them one gives, that person will attain who gives away these cows. Or another way to translate it is, joyless surely are the worlds to which one goes who gives away cows no longer able to drink, eat, give milk, or to calve. Right? Let's take this up word by word. Pitodaka, who have drunk water for the last time. Jagad Trina, eaten grass for the last time. Dugdoha, have yielded all their milk, or they are too old to yield more. Nirindriya, without any indriya, or barren, unable to give birth, doddering. Ananda, joyless. Nam, truly. Te, those, loka as worlds. Tan, to them. Sa, who. Gachati, goes. Ta, them. Dadat, presents. So these cows have drunk water for the last time, eaten grass for the last time, have yielded all their milk, and are devoid of vigor. Joyless truly are those worlds to whom one attains who will give these. Right? So we read it once more. Pitodaka jagad trina dugdha doha nirindriya ananda namate loka stan sa gachati ta dadat. See, now let's come back to the context of the sacrifice. Vajishravasa was conducting the sacrifice to enjoy the joys of heaven. And of course, the conditions of the sacrifice meant that he had to give everything that he had in charity. And in the ancient times, cattle was a great wealth. In fact, gold and silver were secondary to cattle. Cattle was a person's greatest wealth. So when Nachiketa sees these cows which are being gifted in charity, and but then he sees the cows or the cattle going being given away, but what kind of cattle? And that situation, this the uh, peculiarity of the situation touched the heart of this intelligent boy. He had a sense of what was proper and what was not proper. That's why the previous verse said that Shraddha Vivesh. So that Shraddha, the sense of righteousness, entered Nachiketa. And because he was clear about what was proper and what was not proper. And what is he seeing? The cattle that was being given in gift was the kind of cattle that had drunk water for the last time. That means they could not drink further. They had eaten or chewed or the grass for the last time. They would not be able to eat any further. They had been milked for the last time, so they were not available for milk either. And they were nirindriya, so that is weak and tottering. So this was the cattle that was at their lowest ebb in life. These were being given as gifts, and he found that very surprising. Now, interestingly, the notes for us here are that, see, charity means giving of what we love the most and not what we want to discard. uh, Charity, donation, or gifting. And of course, we read this in the Bhagavad Gita also. We had the the threefold categorization of Dhanam in the Bhagavad Gita. But having overall view, charity means giving of what we love the most, because then to whom we are giving, that person will gain. So charity must be done with our heart, and a part of our joy should contribute to the joy of another person. So, see, when we gift, if you gift something which you like, which you would have worn, or which you would have eaten, that is what will actually give joy both to you and to the recipient, because you expect, you are doing your best, and the person will also take the best or receive the best from you, that love, that joy, that taste from you. And we need to actually internalize and implement it in our lives. So now here in the context of this verse, what is happening, what Nachiketa is thinking is that if the cattle which are about to die are being offered as dead coins or demonetized currency notes, Vajravasa was actually giving possessions of no value. It's like the 2000 rupee note is demonetized in a country, and if you get a envelope at a party, or at the wedding function, which contains 2000 rupee note, of what value is it? There was no point giving it, right? So this is similar. So Vajravasa was giving away cattle of no value. So essentially, he was not giving away something of value to him. And therefore, because he was giving valueless items, the recipient was also receiving nothing. So, what Nachiketa saw was, it was a game of pretentious sacrifice. And this is what Nachiketa was looking at. And so, what did he think? Ananda nam te loka tan sa gachati tadadat. So people who give these kind of charities and gifts will go to joyless worlds, right? So this is what the boy thinks. And he feels that my dear father, by giving away these dead cows and cattle, will go to joyless, grief stricken realms by offering gifts pretentiously in this manner. And